Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you our ACC Game of the Week preview between the Maryland Terrapins and the Florida State Seminoles. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with Maryland.
Terps head coach Randy Edsall has done a great job with this football team. He has these guys off to a great start. And quarterback C.J. Brown has played lights out, and it's easy to do that when you have solid playmakers and wide receivers Stephon Diggs and running back Brandon Ross behind a very good offensive line. Now, defensively, the Terps run a 3-4, and they are tough throughout their defense. The linebacking core, in my opinion, is the team's strength, and versus Florida State, the front seven will have to dictate in order to be successful. And in the secondary, cornerback Dexter McDougal is one of the best cornerbacks in the country, so it'll be interesting to see how well they match him up versus Florida State's top-flight wide receivers. Now let's move over to Florida State in this ball game, and Jameis Winston has gotten better from a pre-snap perspective each and every week. And what's been most impressive is how well the Noles are running the football. They go 3 deep in that backfield, and the receiving core is also dangerous, with Winston doing a great job of spreading the wealth amongst the different playmakers, and both Kelvin Benjamin and also Kenny Sharp over 19.5 yards a catch. Defensively, they haven't been able to get to the quarterback much as far as sacks are concerned, but they have done enough to be disruptive, especially on the inside. I think that's what the team's strength lies on that defensive line, their ability to get pressure from within, and they're going to need that versus the Terps running the attack. The X factor for the Terps will be their offensive line, in particular the interior offensive line. You look at guards Deontay Arnett and Michael Dunn and center Sal Conaboy. They're going to have great days versus that interior defensive line of Florida State in order for the Terps offense to have success. The X factor for the Seminoles will be their running backs. They're going to have a complete game. You're talking about running the football, catching the ball out of the backfield, picking up the blitz, because we know Maryland loves to bring pressure out that 3-4 defense, so they're going to need a valiant effort from their backs in order for that offense to have some success versus. Now, here are some coaching points for both teams in this ballgame. For Maryland, you want to take your #1 playmaking threat, Stephon Diggs, and move him around the formation. Give the Florida State defense different looks and find creative ways to get Diggs the football. And you want to have patience with the running game. I feel as though you can run the football versus Florida State. You just have to be patient with it. And if they're patient, they're going to be able to hit those big plays deep down the field in the passing game. And on defense, I would switch up your underneath coverage looks versus Jameis Winston. Sometimes you want to drop your defensive ends in flat coverage, maybe your outside backers in flat coverage while you bring in all your inside guys. Sometimes you may want to go sky coverage, maybe cloud coverage. Switch up your underneath coverages versus Winston, and you could have some success. Now, for Florida State in this ball game, you want to stay disciplined defensively. You know about quarterback C.J. Brown and what he can do on the ground with his legs. You want to keep him contained, tackle to tackle, so you have to stay gap disciplined and play your responsibilities, so that way you can bottle up the running game. And along that offensive line, you want to communicate up front. Very talented group of guys up front for Florida State, but you're going against a 3-4 defense, and we know the problems a 3-4 defense can cause an offense. You don't know where that 4th or 5th guy is coming from, so you have to communicate to pick up the blitz as well as the different stunts that they love to pull up front. And you want to look at the big matchup in the secondary between LaMarcus Joyner and Stephon Diggs. I would have Joyner mirroring Diggs all day long, wherever he goes, whether it's at the split, as a flanker, in the slot. You want your best corner on their best wide receiver in order to give yourself a chance defensively. Now, here are some 2014 draft prospects you want to keep an eye on in this ball game. For Maryland, cornerback Dexter McDougal, 5'11", 190 pounds, one of the best cornerbacks in the country, and is definitely a ball hawk. And on that interior offensive line, Deontay Arnett is a good one. 6'4", 290 linebacker Marcus Whitfield has really burst onto the scene this year. 6'3", 245-pound senior and a junior makes our list for Maryland. Defensive tackle Darius Kilgo, 6'3", 310, does a great job as the nose in that 3-4 defense. And for Florida State, you see a litany of guys on this list. Cornerback LaMarcus Joyner, again, one of the best cornerbacks in the country. And sticking with that defense, you look at Christian Jones and Timmy Jernigan, some of the best at their position. And along that offensive line, Brian Stark, Trey Jackson, and Cameron Irvin, I like a lot. A junior, 6'6", 310 pounds. And running back James Wilder Jr., 6'2", 225. A very tough interior runner with great footwork and also can catch the football out of the backfield. Randy White is definitely a campus legend. From 1971 to 1974, he became a two-time All-American, won the Outland, the Lombardi, and was named ACC Player of the Year. The funny thing is that he came into Maryland as a fullback prospect, moved to defensive tackle or defensive end as a sophomore, and became one of the all-time greats. If Charlie Ward played today, he'd be Teddy Bridgewater. That's how good he was back in the early 90s for Florida State. Won the Heisman Trophy in 1993 and was a two-sport star for the Seminoles, played on the basketball team and completed 62% of his passes, and finished his Seminole career with over 5,700 yards throwing the football and 49 touchdowns. I like Florida State in this ball game. This will be a very close matchup. I think Maryland brings a lot to the table defensively, and offensively they do have what it takes to knock off Florida State. But what I like most about the Seminoles is the fact that they have the better quarterback in Jameis Winston, a guy that can make all of the throws and also has the athleticism to get outside of the pocket. But I do think the depth of Florida State will be the reason why they win this game versus the Terps in another classic matchup in the ACC.